I would like to try and wrap a few thoughts into this brief dissertation, and I'd like to start off with a quote from the guy who runs a place called the Vatican. And a fellow called Pope Francis has recently declared, based on a report from someone called SCALFARI. Now, when I heard this name, SCALFARI, who is kind of like a bit of a reporter on Pope Francis apparently, SCALFARI, if you throw the letters around, becomes farcical. Now, this is, yeah, you may say, oh, geez, you know, an anagram, yes, you can build lots of different words. No, you can't. There's like words sort of hit. If you do Scrabble, you kind of figure out that different letters make this, or the same letters can make different words, and that's what it is, farcical. So this is just an indication to me that what comes out of this Pope is farcical, but interestingly enough, it kind of hit a nerve on me because he's referring, he is the expert on eternity. He is the expert on eternity. So I kind of, or he puts himself forward as the expert on eternity, but I'm going to talk about the fact that he has pronounced that there is no hell. Now that's very interesting to me, because it's always been, in my own upbringing as a Roman Catholic, it was always the big stick that was over our heads, and now he's pronounced, hey, don't worry, there is no hell. Evildoers are not punished. Now get this, they are eradicated in eternity. Now this is fascinating, because that's not a new idea, because there is in the Bible, in what is called the Book of Revelations, there is segment 1420 that talks about what is called the wine press. And the wine press, the clusters of grapes left by Christ, the first reaper, are now harvested by the second reaper. He throws the grapes, get this, into the wine press of God's wrath. So what the Sicilian address, called the Pope, is referring to is something biblical, which I actually quite respect. I have appreciation for this thought that the wine press, which is basically you take, you know, Christ you reap the fruit, like the good types, you know, all the people of goodwill and those those wonderful sheep that Christ has coming to him. He's the shepherd, and he reaps the good ones. And then the second reaper actually throws the leftover, the dross, into the winepress of God's wrath, which suggests interpreting, I have the right to interpret. I would say this is the elimination of the very juice that runs through what is that juice that makes us is kind of pressed into oblivion. Now it doesn't disappear. How can you disappear matter? But it just becomes, in my mind, eternity absorbs back this energy that makes us other than our body. Whatever we are that is not the body is recycled, I suppose, in a sense. And that's all the Pope Poopy has referred to. He's telling us that there is no hell. Now, I think there is a double message here because it's farcical. And what is behind this, as far as I'm concerned, is these people are so nasty, rotten. Their basement is hell. If you are, whoever gets to go into the basement of the Vatican, who knows? Who the hell knows what's going on in that basement? It is brutal. I am sure it is brutal. This is, if there is a hell, it's in the basement of the Vatican. So now he has said, well, there is no hell in all you people. The Aleister Crowleys of the world, which the Pope is a great admirer, obviously, of Aleister Crowley, because he says, not to worry, you can just carry on and do what the hell you want to do. All right, in essence, what these pagan barbarians have actually given themselves a carte blanche, these pagan, barbarian pedophiles, these sissies in dresses, populating, walking amongst us, decent, trusting people that have something within them that makes them the essence of our people, that are people, vulnerable people, children who are abused by these disgusting barbarians, these pedophiles, have now given themselves carte blanche. Carte blanche. Hey, do as thou wilt, Aleister Crowley. Yeah, oh, big fan of Aleister. Big fan. And now what's obviously coming out of the farcical part, what was this guy called? He was called SCALFARI, has reported the Pope has said not to worry, no hell, go and do what you need to do. But you know what? Eternity won't welcome you because you'll be eradicated, based on the idea of the wine press. I thought it was an interesting, newsworthy item, something that came across, and I think it was March 28th, that he was supposedly, that he said this. It came across my alerts on YouTube, and what I reflected on it is I referred to the idea of the wine press because, as I've always said, I have a romance with eternity. The idea that we are more than our bodies. I must say that anyone that has half a sense of themselves realizes that the mystery that we're a part of cannot be explained in any way that would allow us to come to a conclusion on anything, especially what it means to die and what happens after, well, not to die, but what happens after, possibly in terms of whatever this time thing is. I've said the idea of nothing, we are in an interval, we are trapped in this interval, and nothing is an erroneous reference to being trapped in this interval. But what I'm saying is that as far as I function as a human being, I have thoughts and reflections on all of this, and the idea of eternity makes a lot of sense to me from the point of view that we don't have a clue. We really don't have a clue. So why would I assume about, why would I conclude there's nothing if all I can think of is something, as I said in my last dissertation, and eternity is the everythingness in some version that nobody really knows. And my last thought today, my last comment, I've been coming across a few people that I really think have something. They have insight and understanding about certain things. They may even be experts in some aspect of their field or whatever, and have the sense of not being recognized for what it is that they have understood or discovered, or what they would like to share with the world and get a few bucks for it, I suppose. Yes, my service, if I make a painting and you like it, yeah, it's like give me some scratch, a few bucks, and you can have the painting. I think this is all very reasonable in the exchange mechanisms that we have, whether it's you know, stratospheric, like those magnificent icons in culture who get 20 million and 30 million, like Peter Doig. Check out Peter Doig, an artist who just was sold in auction. He's like a little younger than me, maybe in his 50s, late 40s, sold at auction, I think, for $14 million or something like that, a painting he did. And now that's a little weird, I must say. It's a little bit weird, and he may even feel a bit uncomfortable about that, because what really creates that value? Anyway, the idea that we have something to offer, and then you're reimbursed for your effort and all that kind of stuff. But there's some people that feel almost, well, enraged for not being recognized. Or this falls into line with the idea of the community that understands, the community of conscious souls with a conscience that have understood we are being decimated by nuclear pollution. The worst of any toxic element on this planet is nuclear waste, and we know that this is a huge factor in our ability to exist in this experience with our bodies intact in a normal functioning way, not augmented like transhumanism, the idea that we mutate into some other kind of mechanical structure. This is insane, but it's propagated out there. So when things get really bad, just go into the robotic side of yourself or something. Anyway, what I'm thinking, just a brief reflection on this, my suggestion, and I think a lot of people have come across this, especially on YouTube, this kind of self-righteous indignation, this anger, this frustration, like, why the fuck don't these imbeciles, these morons out there get it that we're being decimated? And I felt similar, that, hey, I understand this. Why doesn't everybody else understand this? If you're looking around and you see the destruction from microwave, from 5G now, from every level, if you're a fossil, yes, fossil fuel, the dirty shit that's out there, we shouldn't be using because there are alternatives to that. Everyone has their fight. Go and fight your fight. But here is my suggestion to people that have this righteous, I said righteous indignation, meaning that they understand something and say, why don't you get it? Well, there's no point in getting angry about this. There is no point in wondering, well, why doesn't anybody clue in on this? Why are people so oblivious to the obvious? And I've struggled with this in my own self. And I have said over and over again, your anger is just satisfying an indulgence that you feel that you can unleash against the population. Your anger is something that makes you feel righteous. That indignation you feel, you're an indulgent person. Stop it. Stop it. There is no point in ragging and abusing anyone out there. And where do you end up? You end up in exactly the same place, because people are not going to do anything they don't want to do. There is no way you can coerce or force anyone to do something they don't want to do. And if they are coerced or forced, they're irrelevant. It's not necessary to deal with that kind of mentality. It doesn't work. So when people come off as, it's like, it's a persona. It's a persona. And the idea of persona means fake. Fake. This comes from Greek. So if you're presenting yourself as a persona, you're irrelevant to me because you're a fake. So stop with all your fake aggression and that anger that makes you feel righteous about the thing that you know. There is something within all of us that is capable of changing, but it's not going to happen because we get beaten over the head. And if we do change because we're beaten over the head, it's temporary. It doesn't work. So I've been reflecting on this and saying all along, specifically in the last couple of years, I've understood this. And I had conversations with a friend, and she said to me again, it's like, I don't understand why people don't get it. This is so obvious. It's not the point. The point is that each person needs to invoke this part in themselves that recognizes there is, number one, there is a much bigger picture going on than ourselves. However, it's like one step at a time. And it doesn't happen by bludgeoning anyone. It happens by changing our lives, by invoking conscience. But I said, this is the simplest solution. We need to continuously harp on this. And it's a soft sell. This is a very soft sell. It's not like Jimmy swaggered and tears running down his eyes and I have sinned, I'm so terrible, I'm bad. Or someone else, you fuckers, you pricks, you bastard, I want to kick the shit out of you. Yeah, pound your chest with all your righteous indignation. What's the point? What's the point? What's the point? Complainers. That's who you are. You're complainers. What we need to do is change ourselves, and the courage isn't to be able to pound your chest harder and louder than the next guy. The change that happens is by becoming a better person in our own day-to-day lives. That's how it works. And I listen to these people that have really good information or have insight into the nature, and then they completely miss it by going into this direction. Maybe it's for spectacle and entertainment. I agree. There is a level of entertainment. It's like listening to Rodney Dangerfield going on about Dr. Babumba or whatever the doctor was. That's all you are. You're like Rodney Dangerfield acting out the doctor he created, the fictitious doctor. You're jokes. You're just jokes. Change yourself. Change myself. This is how it's going to work. And the reason there is no response and effect on Fukushima is because this change has not percolated into a larger population. That's why nothing is changing. The reason is because people are not changing themselves, not changing the world out there. It's the world inside that's staying the same. And the Pope, boy, these types are right on top of it. They get it. They understand. You know, go ahead, do as you will. And who gives a shit about eternity, really? Because ultimately, they have no faith in what they say, proclaim. They can talk till they're blue in the face. They have no faith. They have exactly opposite feeling to what they spout, because they have no faith that there is anything other than this existence. And this is why he can say what he says, that there is no hell. Oh no, there's lots of heaven for you, but there is no hell. That is a bunch of hooey. And what was the guy's name? Farsical, yeah. What was his name? Not Farsical. His name was SCALFARI. This is an indication, you know, if you're keeping your ear to the ground, you get these little snippets, and there are great people out there. Mr. Cat Eye, I really suggest you dig up Mr. Cat Eye, who unravels this mystery through numbers. Quite wonderful, actually, dissertation. He did a great one on the Obama portraits, the Michelle and Barry Soetoro portraits. So this righteous, self-righteous indignation even is farcical as well. It's not going to go anywhere. You're pulling your hair out of your head because you're so smart and you figured everything out. Change yourself.